Ah, annoyingly that one's closed. Open Wednesday to Sunday. That's a shame. It's the older of the two pubs in Aldbury. Very nice little village. I'll go and try the other one, the Greyhound. I wanted to pop in that one because it's very old, but when I looked at the website it did look a bit poncy, so no loss. A video on a Tuesday. What go on there? Well, I've been off work for the last week and a bit because I've torn a muscle, or pulled a muscle in my side, and it's healing really slowly, but I'm getting bored, absolutely bored out of my mind sitting at home. Come on traffic, out of the way. Thank you. Yeah, it's not healing very quickly. Now the delightful individual that employs me, she doesn't believe in sick pay. So I'm currently using up all my holiday, just being off sick. Anyway, I needed to come out and have a look around, and I thought I'd pop over to Aldbury because it's very close to home. Lots of walkers know this place because it's on the Ridgeway and it's also close to Tring Station. So you do get a lot of hikers coming through here. But I wanted to come and see the church, because the church has not only a Sheela-na-gig, which I've always wanted to see. I've never seen a Sheela-na-gig before, and I didn't know until just a few days ago. This is what I've been doing, sitting at home just reading through all my old local history books, and I discovered that the church here has a Sheela-na-gig and also a Woodwose. Again, never seen a Woodwose, never seen a Sheela-na-gig. Had to come and have a look. It is a lovely little village, Aldbury. Part of the reason it's so nice is it doesn't really go anywhere. Nobody would come through Aldbury to get anywhere else, so it stays just nice and quiet and sleepy. And it's got lots of lovely old buildings. Every other building seems to be Tudor or medieval or something. We've still got the old village stocks just there, look. And a village pond. So many village ponds these days, I'm guessing due to so-called health and safety, get drained out and just left to fill with weeds and scrub. They seem to look after this one because for quite a long period last year this was empty. I think they were dredging it and sorting it all out, and now it's filled up again. Now just up there, that ridge along the top, that's Ashridge Woods up there. And I think, where's it gone? Yeah, there it is. You might just be able to get it on the camera. If I zoom in, on the right bit preferably, you should be able to just about see, where is it? There it is. There's just the top of the Bridgewater Monument, peeking up out of the woods. Six bells I can hear there. Little known gym fact. As a youth, I was a bell ringer. That was my Saturday job. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I used to ring the bells at the big priory in Dunstable. And I'll tell you what, for a 13-year-old, that was damn good money. Used to do about 20 minutes ringing for a wedding, and you'd get paid 15 quid for that. Now, bearing in mind, this was back in 1988, 89-ish. 15 quid for 20 minutes ringing, even to an adult, let alone a kid, that was good money. And sometimes you'd get 3 or 4 weddings on a Saturday afternoon. Right, there's the other pub, the Greyhound. I do fancy a quick pint before we go and look at some stone-carved lady bits. Let's see if they're open. Yes, they were open. I suppose if the village has only got 2 pubs, any day that one's shut, the other's going to take advantage of that, aren't they? This is a pint of Thirsty Ferret, which I've not had in a very long time. Used to buy it quite often in cans. and it's nice, but this doesn't taste like Thirsty Ferret. To me it tastes more like Beechwood Bitter. I'm not complaining, it's nice, but have they changed the recipe or something? That's not how I remember Thirsty Ferret. Anyway, it's nice. Oh, that pint didn't take long to demolish. It's just occurred to me, if you could remove all of the parked cars and the passing traffic from this scene, you'd have quite a job pinpointing at what period in history I was standing here filming it. All part of the charm of Aldbury, I think. Get rid of those cars. It could be 1900, it could be 1850. One of those places where not much changes. Let's get up to the church then. Find our Sheela-na-gig and our Woodwose. Now, I suppose one glaring obstacle to overcome before I go any further with this video, I need to decide how I'm going to refer to certain bits of the Sheela-na-gig. Personally, I like to use the term vajayjay. However, remembering back to my biology textbooks when I was at school, it was always referred to as the birth canal. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to refer to it as the birth canal. I hope that's acceptable to any tender viewers. I'm really pleased to have arrived just as they're having a little bell ringing session. I think what we'll do, there's a few people milling around and I can see a chalkboard outside the entrance to the church there. I think there might be some sort of coffee morning or something going on in there. So I think the way we'll do this, we'll pop in, we'll find the Sheela-na-gig and the Woodwose, have a look at them, and then I'll come back out here to talk about them. Well, I say talk about, I don't know much. Very nice church, isn't it? Dates back to about 1200 by all accounts. Maltese cross, check. Gargoyles of the proper rain spewing variety, check. Flint construction, check. Totano stone, check. Yew trees, check. Quite like this church. Excellent timing, fellas, thank you very much. There they are, ringing away. And here's Sheila. Oh, again, guys, perfect timing because I need to speak. Here's Sheila with a little toy mouse on top. Now, just very quickly, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of other Sheela-na-gigs. Now, from those examples, you can see that this one's been quite heavily vandalised, probably by prudish clergymen. But what you would expect to see here, had it not been vandalised, is what you could call a grotesque, a bit like a gargoyle, a slightly threatening, menacing, grimacing face of a woman. Now she would be reaching... sorry about that, just had to stop for a quick cough. Coughing and sneezing does not go well with a torn side muscle. But there she is, there's Sheela-na-gig, the first and only one I've ever seen with a little church mouse on top. Now, as I was saying, normally, had it not been so heavily vandalised, old Sheila there, she would be reaching down underneath her thighs with her knees hoiked up, holding herself open for the world to view her innards. Now, there's a lot of different ideas about what a Sheela-na-gig is, what it symbolises, how they were used. Now, I think actually this one probably didn't originate here, because if you look at it, it actually seems to serve some sort of purpose. It's like a little bracket or something for a lintel to sit on or something. So I don't think this was originally here. I think this came here from elsewhere. Possibly, just possibly, from the monastic college up at Ashridge. That was taken apart in the dissolution of the monasteries, just like Priory Church in Dunstable. And it makes me wonder if that possibly came from there. I know a lot of the stained glass did. There's stained glass here which I think, from what I read quite a while ago now, came from the monastic college up in the woods. Let's see if we can get a nice view of this and decipher what it's depicting. Oh, it's just the crucifixion. Now, just through here we have our Woodwose. This is the tomb of Sir Robert Whittingham. This is the tomb of Sir Robert Whittingham and his wife. Now, traditionally, with a big fancy tomb like this, and as his wife has, you'll quite often see, and I've seen it before in other tombs, in other churches, you'll see a faithful canine friend placed at the feet. That's a very common thing to see. You'll see the carving of the deceased with their feet resting on a faithful dog. However, Sir Robert, for reasons unknown, decided that he wanted to spend eternity resting his feet on top of a Woodwose, a wild man, a man of the woods. Now, actually, this is a very, very classical depiction of a Woodwose. We'll explain more when I get outside, but they've been a feature of our culture for a very, very long time. And they show themselves in all sorts of different ways. But this is a very, I've seen this before. This is a very, very common and well-established depiction of a Woodwose. He's got his club in his hand there, look. Why the hell would he forego the traditional dog for a cryptid? Well, these days we'd call it a cryptid. I think, in the past they've been considered many other things. There we go. There's a Woodwose. Didn't know that was here, nor the Sheela-na-gig. I was very pleased when I found out. And just for a bit of context, there's Sheila just on the wall over there. Right, let's get back outside. And we'll talk a bit more about them. Now, we'll get to Woodwoses in a minute, and they're a bit more explainable. But the Sheela-na-gig is a real mystery. Nobody really knows for sure where they originated or what they symbolise. A lot of people say that they're a fertility symbol. Makes sense. A lot of people say that they're a warning against the sins of the flesh. That's a little bit more dubious, because if you were a holy man and you wanted to have some sort of carved, permanent threat against anybody with carnal intentions in your church, why would you install that in your church, have it created, have it installed in your church. Only then, for subsequent holy men to vandalise it in disgust, which is what's happened to a lot of them, and very clearly what's happened to that one in there. The lower portions of it have been completely chipped away. Very mysterious as to what they actually symbolise. There is a tradition, a long tradition, that the old birth canal had some sort of protection for people. There are myths in the forests of Europe, Germany and Austria and whatnot. There are myths that if a young maiden is attacked by a bear, all she has to do is flash the big shaggy old growler and scare the bear away. Now that story of the birth canal being used to scare away wild animals, I don't know. Surely they weren't that stupid that they thought they could just lift their skirt and the bear or the wolf or whatever had run away. I'm not convinced by that. Sorry. Sorry, right. So its meaning and its symbolism is a real mystery. As to its origins, we can get a little bit closer there. They are found all over Europe, actually, particularly in the UK and Ireland. And I think the name that we use, Sheela-na-gig, is Irish, Celtic Irish, I think. Certainly sounds it. Nagig, Sheela-na-gig means Sheila of the birth canal, basically. They're all over Europe, which would suggest, you know, either a Celtic or a Nordic or a Germanic origin. We can't go back as far as Proto-Indo-European cultures, because if that were the case, yes, a lot of Proto-Indo-European stuff is centred around Europe, but you also find very direct equivalents to it on the Indian subcontinent, of which there are none for Sheela-na-gig. I mean, for example, all the Nordic gods all have very direct... Hang on, if I turn around we're going to get... There we go. Don't want to silhouette myself. The Nordic gods, for example, all have very direct equivalents in the Vedic scriptures under ancient Hinduism. They all came from the same source in Central Europe in prehistoric times. So the fact that Sheela-na-gigs only occur throughout Europe, say it's not that old, it's not Neolithic or anything like that, more likely Celtic, Nordic, Germanic, something along those lines. Now, one of the weird things about that one in there is not only that it appears to me to have been brought in from somewhere else, because it appears to have a practical structural purpose, and where it's stuck on the wall in there it serves none whatsoever. From what I've seen, it's quite unusual to see one inside a church. All the ones that I've seen in books and online, they tend to be on the outside of a church, facing out into the countryside, and that's an important thing as well. I haven't seen any examples of them on big city cathedrals or anything like that. They tend to be quite rural, and they also tend to be on the outside of the building, flashing their gubbins out at the surrounding countryside, which again kind of makes you think a little bit along the lines of for protection, to keep the evil spirits away, to keep wild animals away. It's all a mystery, nobody knows. But they're the things I've noticed. Now the Woodwose, that's a different thing entirely. The Woodwose seems to be the British version of a legend or a cryptid or something like that, which which occurs all over the world. I think pretty much every country in the world has got its story of a wild man. You know, you've got the obvious ones that we hear about these days. You've got the Yeti, the Sasquatch, the abominable snowman. What's that Russian one called? They got one, the Nastra. They've got one in Russia. They've got one in Australia. They appear all over the world. This sort of cultural icon, this historic legend of a wild man who represents all sorts of different things. He can present evil. He can represent the wild itself, you know, in the form of a humanoid creature. They can mean all sorts of things. The Woodwose in this country seems to be kind of but he's been linked to the Green Man, kind of a spiritual guardian almost. You have to be afraid, obviously. He carries a big club. You don't want to get on the wrong side of him, but maybe that's all part of the point of the legend of the Woodwose. You know, respect nature, live with it, that kind of thing, and that appeals to me. I like that idea. Now that guy in there, Robert Whittingham, who's got his feet resting on the Woodwose, he died in 1471. He was killed at the Battle of Tewkesbury, which was a major battle in the Wars of the Roses. And I wanted to try and find out why, instead of the traditional dog, he chose to have a Woodwose at his feet. I thought, right, let's look into this bloke, let's find out a bit about him. Maybe he was a keen outdoorsman. Maybe he was a secret pagan. I just wanted to find some sort of pointer as to why Robert Whittingham chose to have a Woodwose carved into his tomb. No, I found nothing, hoping that I'd find he was a real outdoorsman or something like that. It was quite the opposite. He was a merchant, got richer and richer, more and more influential, ended up as an alderman, I think, in London, ended up as an alderman for his trade, and eventually found himself working for the king. Got a knighthood. And of course back then, if you wanted to be knighted, if you wanted to be called a sir, back then it came with responsibilities. If you wanted the benefits of being a knight, of course you had to answer the king's call when it came to times of war. How things have changed. Can you imagine Elton John being told by the king that he's got to go into battle? Imagine old Sir Elton sitting on the back of his horse having a hissy fit because the diamonds on his saddle don't match the diamonds on his handbag. Real mystery, that. I mean, the Woodwose is less of a mystery. What's the big mystery in regards to the Woodwose is why Sir Robert would have one carved on his tomb. It seems extremely unusual. As for the Sheela-na-gig, well, that's just a full-on mystery altogether. Well, I'm glad I've been to have a quick look at the two. Let's have another look at that gargoyle, shall we? Two real mysteries that I've always been interested in, especially the Sheela-na-gig. I'm pleased I've seen one. Her birth canal has been vandalised. God, I've done it. Alright, let's leave it there then. Enjoy that video. See you later. Bye. Beaver! I should have said beaver.